Absolutely lovely.
Yes, it's very fun.
Just the way they make their cheese and not bring food in their
Mrs. Morrison, I think your idea for the story study is absolutely lovely. I can't wait. Can you stay, darling?
No, I can't.
I'm quite excited. Oh, and we haven't even talked about the honeymoon yet. Stephen is going to take us all around Europe, Canada.
Wait.
Yes, we will. And this is I'm just so excited. I mean, we are doing the Orient Express and everything. We're even going as far as Russia. No, we're not going to go to any of the other.
Oh, Agatha, go and get the door, please.
Who do you think that could be?
I've got no idea, darling.
Madame Celeste Dubois.
What a pleasure.
Enchanté, monsieur. Let me introduce you. This is Mrs. Morrison, her son Stephen, his fiancée, Miss Julia Hurst, Mrs. Boatwright, and of course, you know my wife. Everybody, this is Madame Dubois.
Well, I suppose you're French.
Yes, well, my cousin, he ran off with a French woman. I suppose we always should have known. He did prefer French cheese, but his parents, they were quite upset. Think he ended up in Marseille? Marseille? Are you from the south of France?
No, I am from Brittany.
Please excuse me.
Look at those two.
Oh, it's a very beautiful city. You must come and see me sometime. Very Oh yes, she's
Well, they're obviously at it.
could do with a few cooking lessons, I might say. Not quite the best woman in the household.
Because he's married.
And I was like,
Oh, Stephen.
very, very good.
Always willing to see the best in people. Sometimes you can just be so naive.
But her cooking is shocking.
You should have married a French woman.
Excuse me.
When were you going to tell me?
Tell you about what?
You know what I'm talking about. What about your wife?
Since when has my wife been your concern?
I was just looking for the lavatory.
Just this way.
And Mrs. Morrison is intent on having everything in Cerise. But I guess she is paying for it.
I'm just so happy for you and Stephen. You'll make a lovely bride.
And what about your husband? I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting him yet.
I'm afraid George passed away 4 years ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
What was that?
Oh my gosh!
Stephen, call a doctor, call an ambulance, call.
There's no need, Emil. She's dead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Detective Morris Bayfield. Now I regret to inform you that Madame Dubois is dead. I suppose you lot already knew that. She was stabbed in the back. Here, beside the lower spine, and here, in the back of the neck. Quite effective, if I may say so myself.
She was murdered?
Well, she didn't do it herself, did she, sweetheart?
How dreadful! Who could have done such a thing?
That's what I'm here to find out. What were you doing at the time of the murder?
I was in the library. I wanted to spend some time alone. I had a bit of a headache, with the stress of all the wedding and all.
I was taking a stroll in the garden with Mrs. Boatwright. We were talking about the wedding. Well, when we heard a scream.
We heard a scream. We went back inside, and that's when we saw the body.
I was showing Mrs. Morrison to the lavatory, and I went back to the parlour, and that's when I found her.
I was in the kitchen. I've been feeling quite ill today. I just went to fetch a glass of water.
I was searching for my wife. She wasn't feeling well. I found her in the kitchen.
I was in the lavatory. That maid, whatever her name is, she showed me the way there.
And how well did you know Madame Dubois?
Well, I only met her today.
Not at all.
She's a friend of my sister's, I think. I've only met her once before today, and only briefly.
She's come to the house once or twice before, but I hardly ever spoke to her.
She's a close family friend of ours.
She's a friend of ours. My wife and me, I mean. She used to be married to this chap I used to work with, but they've divorced.
I believe she was a friend of Gloria's. Mrs. Fitzgerald, I mean. She caused quite a stir when she came in. Those French, they're not like us.
Did you notice anything suspicious?
No, nothing at all.
Well, I hate to gossip. Stephen and I, we were talking before all of this happened, right? That, well, it's pretty obvious that Madame Dubois and Mr. Fitzgerald know each other intimately.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand.
Very intimately.
You believe that they were having a sexual relationship?
Well, yes.
Well, I suppose anything's possible. My sister did leave the room quite suddenly when Madame arrived, but I didn't think anything of it at the time.
I don't want to speak ill of my employer, sir, but she did come to the house often, and as a maid, I often noticed that the sheets in the master bedroom were rumpled.
I know your secret.
What?
I know about your fling with the French tart.
That's ridiculous.
Please! I saw how upset you were when she got knifed. If everyone didn't think she was off with your husband, it would be obvious. So I'm wondering, who should I tell first? Your husband or the detective?
Don't bother telling my husband, dear.
What do you mean?
Because he's at it with your fiancée, Julia, darling. Didn't you know?
You bastard!
What is it, my love?
My love! Is that what you call Mr. Fitzgerald when you two are at it? His wife told me everything. Didn't think I was going to marry you, a gay man. I don't you dare give me that. We are over, Stephen Ashley Morrison.
Absolutely everything will be Cerise.
Bastard!
Julia, what are you doing?
He slept with Stephen. They were lovers.
Stephen? My son? That's impossible. No, I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. It's true. It's who I am. It's who we are. We're in love.
But the wedding! The Cerise wedding!
Detective, something awful has happened.
Stephen, no!
Stephen, darling.
Stand back, everyone! I believe young Stephen is dead, but I must investigate further. He's alive! Someone call an ambulance! Stephen, can you tell me what happened? Who did this to you? He fainted. Bollocks.
Is he alright? Is my son alright? It was you, wasn't it? You were only after his money. I never did like you.
Me? Of course it wasn't me. It was her. She's just because her husband doesn't love her.
Of course I didn't stab him. Yes, he was having an affair with my husband, but we had a special understanding.
That's disgusting.
I think we should just all calm down and have some tea. Where's the maid?
Agatha? Agatha!
I have done what I have done for love. I will always be yours, Emile. X. Smiley face. X. P.S. I left the kettle on. Don't let it boil dry. Emile! Who is Emile?
I am.
I see what's happened here. Young Miss Agatha was in love with you. She believed that you were having an affair with Madame Dubois, and so killed her. Then, when she found out for your love with Mr. Stephen Morrison, she attempted to kill him too. When she realized she would be found out, she killed herself. Should have known. It's always the maid, isn't it?
But she was such a lovely girl. I never would have thought.
And now you're going to have to find a new one. How inconvenient for you.
You stupid woman! 2 people are dead. Your son is in hospital. You complete moron! And just so you know, I hate the colour cerise.
How dare you? You never said you didn't like cerise.
I couldn't find the maid anywhere, so I took it upon myself to.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowright. I think we could all use with a good cuppa.